Okay, so welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at another budget PCP rifle. This is the Kral Puncher Marine. Chose this one simply because it's such an interesting looking thing. We're, as always, going to be taking a look at the features of the gun, then moving on to handling, then consistency and power testing through the chronograph, and then finally we're going to go on to accuracy testing and see what we really think of the gun. So, enough of the intro, let's move on to the interesting stuff. Let's move on to features. Okay, so features, what do you get with your Kral Puncher Marine? As always, we start off at the rear. You've got a nicely finished rubber recoil pad. I think we all expected that to be there. Slightly further down, we have the walnut stock, and as you can see, the Kral Arms logo is emblazoned into the rear here. I really like that, and on this particular gun, what I really like is the way you can see the grain just sort of waves through the logo. Beautiful looking thing. Slightly further along, we have got the stippling around the grip. That's a handling section area, and slightly further up we have Kral's typical designed safety mechanism that you find on most of their rifles. That's a handling thing. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Where things do get interesting though is where we come down, because if you have an early puncher, you'll notice this is quite a bit different to what you've got. They've actually updated all of their earlier modelled rifles, with the exception at this moment in time to the NPO2 and I think the Breaker at the moment, but the punchers and such actually come with Kral's match type trigger, similar to what you see on the Puncher Pro 500, the Knights and such like that. So that's really interesting. We'll have a play with that when we get to the handling section. As we come up, you can see this is a side lever action, and it does use the rather lovely rail system that the Kral's and certain Turkish guns come with, where it can take a dovetail mount and also a Weaver or Picatinny style mount. You've not got to switch your mounts around. That can be a bit of a nightmare as you go from gun to gun. Further along still, we have the Kral power adjuster. We'll get that tested when we whip the chrono out a little bit later, but it's a lovely feature to have if you're using this for hunting, so you can take the gun obviously full power outside, or indoors where over penetration can be a massive issue. You can simply wind that power down and you're safe to go. Got a little bit more stippling on the front end here with the Puncher logo, which is left in the front part of the stippling. Slightly further up, you can see we have the marine finished barrel, which I don't know what to think of this marine finish. I don't know if I absolutely love it or it's a bit too tarty. I think it's going to split opinions, maybe this. I think I like it, but I'm not sure. And further on, we have got the 1/2" UNF thread. Again, lovely thing to have when you consider that a lot of the, say, budget PCPs are Chinese these days, and they have got metric instead. And again, not knocking them, fantastic guns, but I just wish they come with 1/2" UNF thread like this does. You've got a dust cap on the front end to protect the filling port, and the other feature that I really quite like, you don't have to stick your nose, apologies if I can't get a good angle on this, but you don't have to stick your nose over the barrel to see what your pressure is at. The gauge is put just on the underside of the action there, so exactly where it should be. But we're not quite done yet. As you can see, you get 2 mags with the gun. Very nice little feature, and the Kral mags are pretty good as well. And as we move across, you can see there is an accessory rail. Now where that goes, again, if I can get you the camera angle on this, you can see there's a brass plug in there, a threaded plug. Now that will go into there, so you haven't got to drill into your lovely Turkish walnut stock to put a bipod on or anything like that. You get the screw, comes with the adapter we've got here, or the rail I should say. Simply screw it in place and you can fit your bipod on just like that. Great idea. Little things like that is what you know we like on this channel, the little features that they think to include. But that's it for the features of the Kral Puncher Marine. So why don't we get the scales out and see just how heavy she is. Okay, so she's on the scales and she comes out at 7.78 pounds. So weight wise, I'd call that a heavy middleweight, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But we'll see how that feels when it's put in the shoulder and see how balance affects things, because as we've always said in this channel, balance can massively affect the overall feel or sense of weight in a gun. First off though, I wonder how you load those mags. Okay, so loading the mag. You see we've already loaded a couple of pellets. Very good reason for that is simply because I'm wearing gloves because it's freezing cold, and the mag kept slipping out of my hand as I was trying to take the spring tension. So yeah, there is that to consider. It didn't look great, I'll put it that way, but it's really simple to load. Hopefully you can see on the mag there's an arrow pointing clockwise. All you'd need to do is spin this disc around like so, or tray we'll say, and load the first pellet through here. And what that'll do, as you spin it around, you're tightening up the spring at the same time, and you might be able to see there's a rubber toggle there. What that pellet does is it locks that toggle in place. So then the spring will stay under its tension while you spin this back and load the pellets head first through the top like so. The only thing I'd say to be careful of is when you do load that first pellet, I recommend putting one finger just out the back of the mag like that, because sometimes that pellet can fall straight through the other side and then it'll spin all the way around. It doesn't do the mag a whole lot of good and you got to start all over again. So simply hold it like that, one finger at the rear of it like so, and then off you go. So loading the mags is pretty simple, and like I said, when you've done that you simply load them through the top like so. So loading the mag's pretty simple. So let's put the gun to the shoulder now and see what we think. Okay, so handling, what do we think of the Kral Puncher Marine? Well, first things first, we're going to take a look at how we load that mag that we just filled up a second ago. First thing you're going to do, pull the side lever back and then get your mag. What you're going to notice is there's a groove cut into the mag there, and there is also a matching slot in the action. You might not be able to see it from where you are, but basically that's going to help you line up the magazine. Now, I may fluff this slightly because I cannot feel my fingertips today. There we go. Line her up, push her in, close the side lever, and you're ready to rock and roll. First things first, let's get the nerdy stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the balance and such of the gun. Now, the gun is, you can see it's rocking back slightly now, but the gun is slightly nose heavy. The scope, obviously we can move that back, which might shift that back a bit, but basically the balance point, I would imagine, is about here, just in front or just in line. Yeah, you can see it's dipping down massively now. So it's just in front of that scope mount there. So not quite dead center, slightly further forwards. Now, that might put maybe some people off. I actually really love it because it reminds me of some of my underlever spring guns and such, but that is a nice gun to shoulder. There's a couple of things doing this. Number one, obviously the stippling is very nice. Maybe not quite as deep as some of the guns out there, some of the much more expensive gear, but bear in mind this gun's only £365. You can let it get away with a few little bits and bobs. I do like the overall style of the stippling. There's another two things I'm going to mention too. Number one, she is fully ambidextrous, as you can see there, so lefties rejoice. The other thing I'm going to say is the grip area, if you look, is actually quite narrow, if you can see that. And although it's a long gun, I know we've got the silencer on there, but I know it's a long gun, but this narrow grip actually makes it feel a lot more dainty than what you would give it credit for. It doesn't feel like a big chunky gun. It actually feels really pointable because of this. And if you can, hopefully you can see it, let me lean back a bit. I might wobble a bit now because I'm not comfortable, but if you can see the end of that silencer, that's not moving at all. You can hold that deadly still, which is obviously what you want in a target gun or especially a hunting gun. Right, now we get into the fun stuff. Let's have a look at the trigger and just have a quick look at the safety. Safety is your typical Kral affair. I personally would rather, if it was just a little, all you need is a toggle in front of the trigger blade just to click, click, so you can do it on the fly nice and quickly. This is quite nice though. It's very nicely made, which is what I like about it. You get it halfway and it pretty much clicks itself straight on, which is nice. It's a nicely made piece of kit as well. It's a lump of metal. There's no plastic or anything like that there. But yeah, if it was here, I'd prefer it. But as an alternative, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's quite nice, and you can just thumb it and then pull it back reasonably easily. Right then, so we're going to look at the trigger now. Obviously the gun's already cocked because we put the mag in. Safety's off. Point it in a nice and safe direction. That is really good. Right, something I'm going to show you. If you've seen it, or if anyone's owned it, you'll be able to attest. The older punchers and some of the earlier Kral rifles, like the MP02s, the Breaker, such like that, when they had the thick trigger units, like a brass, like a golden coloured trigger, the triggers out the box could be a bit rough, a bit heavy. In fact, on our Puncher Pro review, not the 500, the standard Puncher Pro with the cylinder, the trigger on there was, I think I said something like it was more like a 3-stage out of the box than a 2-stage. You just pulled it and pulled it and pulled it until it finally went. This is a massive upgrade compared to them. In fact, I would go as far as to say, and this may seem blasphemy to some, I would go as far as to say that I actually prefer this trigger unit to the Artemis M16 trigger unit. Not knocking the M16, I love the M16, but just look at this, ready? So, little finger in a glove as well, so I've not quite got the feel as what you'd have with your fingertip. Bouncing off the second stage, can you see that? No creep, nothing. Now watch this, little finger still. Zero creep. Zero creep, no real effort, but you have got that solid second stage there. So let's just try that again. Second stage, see me bouncing off hopefully. There we go, we're on it. Gone. That is a pucker trigger. In fact, I'm going to say something very brave now, and I'm sure the Viarart Club will probably hunt me down and gut me like a fish. Next time you guys will see me, I'll be hanging inside this barn like a bloody pheasant. I would actually go as far as to say if you tried that trigger and put it against something like a HW100, which has got a phenomenal trigger unit, you would not look at that and go, oh, that's just a budget trigger. You would have a play with that, and even, like I said, a 100 guy would say that is a cracking trigger on there. What an upgrade, and it did need it too, because the earlier triggers, like I said, they were a little bit rough. You could adjust them into a respectable trigger, but they're not on the same level as this, not even close. Overall, from a handling perspective, I really, really like it. I mean, the power adjuster, obviously you got that up here, it's a little bit out the way maybe, but it's, I mean, you're not going to be flicking it on and off all the time. It's not really much of a concern. The other thing I quite like as well is that the action on this is actually fairly quiet. Have a listen. There's a tiny little bit of spring noise, and obviously we have got that Kral Marine silencer on the end. We did not mention that in the feature section, simply because it unfortunately does not come with it. It's an optional extra, and you will want to budget for one as well. We sell them for about 35 quid. To be fair, it's a genuinely nice silencer, even for that money. It's cheaper than the rest, or most of them, and it is a good bit of kit. But let me just, I'm putting you up to the lapel mic, I think. Have a listen. There's a slight ping from the spring, but that's it. Did you hear that? Pung. Let's do it one more time. Compared to a lot of rifles, even some of the much more expensive gear we've shot, that is actually pretty tame. Let's just have another little go. And again, see if you can listen to that silencer as well. All you can hear really is just the impact of the pellet into the dirt there. That is a lovely, lovely gun. So from a handling perspective, I am a seriously happy chappy. Next, let's move on to the chronograph testing. So obviously it doesn't matter if it handles like a Formula 1 car, if it's got all the grunt of a Mini Cooper. So, let's see how she does. Okay, so it's accuracy testing time. We've given the rifle a recharge from the chronograph session. We're going to be using the backpack as a rest. And just for now, we're going to have a few shots maybe off camera with the selection of pellets we have here to see what it likes and what it doesn't like. For now, we're going to set the target up at 25 yards to do our preliminary accuracy testing, and we'll see just how well the puncher can do at the 25-yard mark. After this, we're then going to push it on to 40 yards back there, and we'll film our results with the best pellets at 25 and the best pellets at 40 yards so we can see exactly what the gun can do. So let's have a bit of fun. Okay, so our accuracy test off screen is done. Going to keep it short and sweet, don't want the review going on for too long. These are the rubbish ones basically. Don't get me wrong, great pellets in other guns, but with what we've got here today with the Marine, rubbish to be fair. 50 pence groups, maybe slightly bigger, slightly smaller, but they're not exactly ideal. Down here are the surprisingly good pellets that, to be fair, you could hunt with up to say 25-30 yards. I'm talking groups of say a 20 pence piece, maybe slightly over with a few of them, but you're getting genuine groups on card. It's not sporadic like these. And with these we've got the rifle domes, the good old but actually newer wasps. We've got the Crossman Premier 10.5 grain, the rifle thunders, which are a cracking pellet. They actually didn't drop nowhere near as much as what I thought they was going to, considering their, is it 13.43 grains, and the brand new Ely 10Xs, which also group pretty well. However, the absolute best, barring one, you can ignore that, it was one I found that we hadn't tested, so I put it on this card. BSA Storm's absolutely rubbish, as you can see there. Again, might group in some other barrels, but it didn't like this one. Now this surprised me. Pellet number 1 is the sniper lights. Now they were affected slightly by the wind, although it's mainly calm today, we're still getting the occasional rough gust. And you can see the first group we did in the wind, trying to shoot between the breaks in the wind, it did open up a bit. But after this, we had that. The other pellet on test is the Norma pellets. Now there also we had a few shots, as you can see, in the wind where it did open up a little bit, but it weren't too bad. But look at that. That's bloody good, especially when you consider this is a budget gun. But what we're going to do now, we're going to see if we can get these results on camera, and we're going to shoot both tins of pellets. We're going to go top left for the sniper lights and top right for the Normas. So we're going to set the target up, or we have already, hopefully you can see there, set the target up at our 25-yard mark. Then after that, we're going to push it to 40 yards and have a little bit more fun and see how they do at pretty long range for a sub 12 feet-pound rifle, we'll put it that way. So we'll really put it through its paces there. So let's let the heart rate settle down a bit and let's see what she can do on camera at 25. Okay, so I had no intention of doing the, I know we usually do it, but I wanted to shake things up a bit this time. I wanted to do the 25-yard results next to the 40-yard results when we was done, but I'm sorry, I've not on this video. 25 yards, pay no attention to the tear you can see there. You can see where I've had to fold this target to get it in because it's a little bit too big for our target holder. That, I think, it's just been torn, putting it in there, I don't know, or folding it round. That is 6 shots. At 25 yards. Rested, don't get me wrong, as you know, you might even be able to see the crease going through the backpack where I was leaning on it. But rested, but 6 shots. That looks like 2, maybe 3 with the size of the pellet hole there. But I swear to you, if you watch the footage back, that is 6 going through there. Now, the Normas didn't do quite so well. I say quite so well, but if you look, I mean, that's still a pretty damn nice group. And if we put the 5p piece up to it, it's devoured by the 5p piece. But I do think it grouped better off camera than it did on. So the Norma's got a bit unlucky there. It could be because the pressure in the gun might be running a tad low now. I don't know, we'll look into it. But we're now going to have a few shots at 40 yards. So as you know, we're going to be setting the target up way back to that other barn building there between the two stanchions. Now the issue that we're going to have is I don't have a whole lot of room on our faithful digger bucket, but I'm going to have to sort of manage or make do. And what we're going to do off camera, we're going to re-zero the gun at 40, because 25 and 40 with a sub 12 feet-pound gun is going to have quite a bit of an effect, that extra range. So we're going to get it re-zeroed, then have a few more shots and see how she does there. But in my eyes, the gun is already a winner. I just pray to God I don't bugger it all up at our 40-yard mark, which I think we all know I probably will. So let's move on. Okay, so got our 40-yard zeroing session done. I've taken the target out, it's in my hands now, and hopefully you can see the backpack rested on the bucket over there. The rifle is on the table. Didn't want to risk putting it on the bucket. Right, got to show you this. 40 yards. First pellet zeroed was the Normas. First shot, it was actually on the wood. Second shot is there. Third shot, over adjusted, way high. And the next few shots was getting it roughly on target. And you can see there, that bullseye is almost completely eliminated. Then we use the sniper light. So if you think that's good already, bear in mind this is a budget gun, a sub 400 pounds rifle. Sniper lights. Took aim at this bullseye. 4 shots. 40 yards. 40 yards. Kral Puncher Marine. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care, and I say this a lot, but it's the truth. You can have a HW100. You can have a Daystate Super Mega Ultra Wolf laminate, whatever. I even think that they might struggle to match that out of a budget PCP. I'm going to say it at the minute anyway. Maybe it's the cold getting to my head, I don't know. I might change my mind tomorrow. But Artemis M16, you're gone. I think I have the new favourite budget PCP. And you know, I never shut up about the M16 normally. I think that puncher, over there somewhere, is the new M16. But let's get the fresh target put in. We have some more shots at 40 yards, get the camera rigged up. We are fighting the sun at this moment in time. She is setting and I am freezing my nadgers off. Let's set the target back up, put the camera up, and let's see what she can do on camera. That's accuracy testing out of the way, and I don't think I have to say anything really, do I? That is ridiculous. With me shooting it even. And you know, I'm basically a gorilla pulling the trigger. That is absolutely mental for a gun that's sub 400 pounds. Again, don't get me wrong. You know I love the Artemis M16. But I think I love this more. The trigger is just, I know we're getting into the final verdict already, aren't we? The trigger is just better. The accuracy on it, I know I've already said it, but be honest, guys out there, maybe I've got it wrong, maybe they are better, who knows. Guys out there with HW100s, S410s, I'd even go as far as to say Daystate. You tell me if your gun is any noticeable amount better than that. I bet it's not. Madness. Actual genuine madness. I'm going on a tangent now. Why do so few people talk about the Puncher? I don't understand it. Even review channels, there's not much out there on the Puncher, I don't believe, at this moment in time. I know the Nova Vista, which I'm quite happy about, got a hell of a lot of people taking a look at it. Matt Dubber did a video on it as well. You need to do a video on one of these. Make sure it's a newer one with the upgraded trigger, as you can see there. If it's an older one, have a little play with it. Guys out there, review channels, if anybody watches our pokey little review channel, please give one of these a go. You're going to be helping out people who get a lot more views than us. A lot of people out there that are new to the sport and don't know what to get, and they might never watch this, who knows. Get out there and just have a little look. Get a second-hand one, who cares? Have a look at it, give it a go. This is going to put the biggest bloody smile on your face that you've had in a long time. Even me as a Springer man, I'm smiling, as I'm sure you can tell, like a Cheshire cat through the camera. That is madness. Anyways, that's it for accuracy testing. I don't need to say much more. I've already said too much. Let's move on now to the final verdict and see just what we think of the Kral Puncher Marine. I think you can probably tell I'm quite in love with it. So, the Kral Puncher Marine. What do we like? What don't we like? First things first, apologies for the low light. As you can see, it's getting really dark now and freezing cold. But overall, what do we think of the gun? Well, as we always say, we want to get the negatives out of the way first. There's not many of them. The only thing I can really say is the rifle is slightly nose heavy. If you want a featherweight gun, something that you can, I don't know, something that you can maybe lug around all day long and you're not used to heavier guns, this isn't going to be the thing for you. If you wanted a gun with a humongous shot count, this also will not be the thing for you, as you could probably see, or hopefully see, because the light is playing bloody torture on the camera and myself at this moment in time. You get about 70 shots before it drops below 10 feet-pounds. It's just an unregulated gun, basically. It's nothing amazing, it's nothing terrible, it's fairly typical, to be fair. Now we get to the really good stuff. The first things first, not going to talk much about it, the accuracy. Hopefully that's coming out on camera okay. It's phenomenal. That's 40 yards. Again, you saw us take it. It was 6 shots per group, I believe, off memory. It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And again, I think we even showed the, if I hold it up like that, might be better, the zeroing, what we did. Like we said, first load of shots went low, then it came to there, then up here, because I took it too far, and then bang on just above the ball. and that's with the sniper lights aiming at the bull of the bottom right target. Accuracy wise, which is the main thing with a gun, you want it to shoot straight, nothing else really matters, it's 10 out of 10. You can put this up against pretty much any prestigious rifle on the market. I'd even say your HW100, which many consider the holy grail of the PCP world. Same as the Air Arms S410, a proven gun. And as you know, we don't knock it. The only reason to mention it is because for me, it is the gun to be tested against, simple as. And I think it'd be neck and neck downrange, I really do. You've got a lovely walnut stock on there. The trigger is, I wouldn't say second to none, because that's a very brave thing to say, but I would say the trigger, it's so dark you can barely see it, I do apologise about that. The trigger is fantastic. It's just, there's not really much I can complain about. It's been quite difficult actually, because you know we quite like to have a good moan. The rail is great. It's the same as what you get on a lot of the Turkish rifles. You can use a Picatinny style mount or a dovetail, like we're using at the minute. And the overall finish is lovely. You've got 1/2 inch UNF thread on the front end. You can fit any silencer you want, but frankly, if you go for a Marine, it has to be a Marine silencer. Otherwise, you want locking up. It's just a lovely bit of kit. Simple as. Power adjuster, 1/2 inch UNF thread, Turkish walnut stock, a beautiful trigger, fantastic accuracy, a great scope rail system for 385 quid, or 365 if you go from us for the standard blued action. Now I know what you're thinking, I sell these. If there's anyone's going to lie to you, it's me. Wow, it's getting really dark now, we better wrap this up. But if anyone's going to lie to you, it's me, and you're probably usually 110% right. But you've seen yourself what the gun can do. You tell me now how you would improve this gun, other than of course putting a spring in it and making it a break barrel, of course. As you know, I'm not a PCP shooter. I like my spring guns, but I love this. And again, another thing, I rant and rave, even to this day, it would still be in the top 3. What's the best budget PCPs on the market? And I usually say Artemis M16. You guys usually tell me to shut up about it. This is the new one, the Puncher. It is genuinely that good. It is a stonking bit of kit. But anyways, we're rambling a bit now. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you liked the review. And again, any big review channels, if you see this, if you've not done a Puncher, please do. Not a lot of guys out there start with thousands of pounds to spend on a PCP rifle, and trust me, this one's going to put a big smile on your face and hopefully theirs as well. But no, thanks ever so much for watching, and fingers crossed we'll see you around next time.